Good morning students. Welcome back to English class. So in the last class I started the lesson Japan and Brazil Through a Traveler's Eye by George Mikes. So in the last class you learned some note on travel writing, what is travelogue and when it has been started. So in the first part we can learn about Japanese manners. Page number 97. A quarter of an hour in Japan will convince you that you are among exquisitely well-mannered people. So, a quarter of an hour, if you are with Japanese, very easily you can make out that you are with well-mannered people. So directly what it is telling that Japanese are well-mannered people. Japanese are well-mannered people. People who live in hopelessly overcrowded island have to respect one another's privacy. So you know that Japan is an island, so that it is very overcrowded, but being overcrowded country, Japanese are giving respect to others' privacy. They never poke their nose in others' business. They never interfere in others' business. They are really giving respect to others' privacy. Or rather would have to if they had no any privacy, but they don't. So courtesy has double function. It is courtesy and it is substitute privacy. It is that it is a courtesy. Courtesy means giving thanks or thanksgiving. So one way it is a courtesy and other way it is a privacy. Okay. For example, the little red telephones in the streets, shops and halls of the hotels. You know that in most of the countries, in most of the cities where the red telephones, where they have been kept on roads and shops and halls of the hotels, and on in the streets also they have been kept. So where the people can use those red telephones, where they can talk with anybody. So the instrument is situated on table or on a counter. They have no space to spare for booths. See there, Japanese, it's a very overcrowded city, overcrowded country, where they do not spare extra place or extra space for the booths, so that they are going to situate that red telephone is to be, that instrument is situated on the table or on a counter. So there is no booth like. So how it is yesterday booth we have, that kind of booths they have not made, because it is going to take extra space. So there is no space, extra space for them to utilize for that. So they are going to put that instrument, they have situated that instrument on the table or on a counter. You conduct your most confidential business transactions. So most of the businessmen utilizing those red telephones, where they can have their most confidential business transactions. So it is a public place and there is no privacy at all, but even then the people are utilizing that instrument and they are going to have their most confidential business transactions. Here intimate love quarrels in public, and very close love quarrels also take place in public, yet in perfect privacy. But even then it's going to be very privacy. Nobody is going to interfere what business, what confidential business is going to take place, or what quarrel is taking place between the lovers. Nobody is going to interfere, nobody is going to poke their nose in others' business. So in a very perfect privacy it takes place. Anybody, any passerby could listen in. Any passerby can listen to those words, listen their conversation. But nobody does. So this is how the Japanese are well-mannered people, and they give respect to others' privacy. And courtesy has a double function. It is courtesy and a substitute privacy. A man's telephone receiver is his castle. This question is asked for many times. What is man's castle? A man's telephone receiver is his castle. So whatever the conversation takes place, it is not going beyond that telephone receiver. It is like a castle. Okay, this is how Japanese are well-mannered people. That is given in the first paragraph. Second one, It is talking about, he is discussing about the bowing, how bowing is very much craze in Japanese. You will of course immediately notice their mania for bowing. So when you go to Japan, the people are acting like a mad, where they are bowing continuously to another. Everybody keeps bowing to everybody else. Everybody when they are moving. So when we are moving on road, if we meet any person who knows us or whom we know, so we just wave. We say hi, hello, good morning. But in Japan, what do? They don't shake their hands, but they don't kiss their cheek, but they just bow to them. This is how they give respect the others. It is like saying namaskara or good morning to others. In that way, in Japanese, they bow to each other when they meet with the ceremonious solemnity of courtier, yet with a great deal of natural and inimitable grace. Very easily they do this. Okay, very easily they do this bowing and all. It's going to be like very authoritative and very officially it takes place. And it is going to very naturally it comes to Japanese. Bowing is neither less nor more silly than shaking hands or kissing the cheek. So as I said, in most of the abroad or most of the Western countries, what do they do when they meet others? So they just shake their hands or kiss their cheek. But here in Japan, they do not do this. They follow bowing. It is not they should not bow more. They should not bow less. They have a kind of formality in that way they have to bow. But it is quite where more formal, more oriental, very formally, very orientally they follow this. It is also infectious. So if you there in Japan for few minutes or few days, definitely it is going to be like an infectious disease. So after, so it is like infectious, like you keep on bowing to others. When you see Japanese, so when they bow continuously to others, like they keep on bowing to others when whoever they meet on roads. So it is like you also start bowing. It's going to be like infectious. After a few hours, you start bowing yourself. So after seeing those Japanese when they keep on bowing others, you also start bowing yourself. But you bow too deeply or not deeply enough, but bow to the wrong man at the wrong time. So whom you meet on road, whom you are bowing, it is also important. It also matters how long you have to bow, how long you have to bow, and how much you have to, how deep you have to bow. That also matters. The person whom do you meet. You bow to the wrong man at the wrong time. So if you bow little deep or less deep, it is going to show that you are meeting the wrong man at the wrong time. You do not clasp your hands in front of your, which is bad. So when you are bowing, you should not clasp your hands. You should not hold your hands in front of you, which is going to be like bad manners. It shows bad manners. You should not. And you do which is worse. You will discover that the Japanese have a complicated hierarchy in bowing. So they have been following from many years. They have been following this kind of bowing. It is going to be like hierarchy. Very authoritatively, very easily, very naturally, very inimitably they follow this. Who bows to whom, how deeply and for how long. How deep one has to bow, how long one has to bow, everything is matters there. One of the American states had an early traffic law which laid down that if two cars met an intersection, neither was to move before the other had gone. So in one of the American states, how the bowing take place, for that George Max has given one example. So in one of the American states, there is an early traffic law, where in that traffic law, where the two cars meet at an intersection. The junction of the two parts is called intersection. So at that time, when the two cars meet at an intersection, at that time one has to stop, the other has to move. In that way, when somebody is bowing, one has to stop there and he has to bow to other. So one has to stop After that, one has to getting up. After one has to get up from that bowing, the other has to get up. Okay, he has to come to the normal position. Until then, they should not. Both should not together. They should not. Both of them should not bow together. Both of them should not stand erect together. Okay. Similarly, if Japanese bow neither is to straighten up before the other stands erect in front of him. So both should not bow together. Both should not stand straight. A little complicated to us when we see that very easily they manage it, very easily they follow it, because they have born in Japan, they knew it, how to bow and how long to bow. But the people who can come from the different country, other country, it's going to be very complicated when we just look at the Japanese. They manage it without difficulty or even the smallest difference in rank, standing, age, social position will be subtly reflected in that split second. One man's bow is shorter than the others. It is just a split of second. Okay, it is not a long hours or long time. It is just a split of second. So when two persons are meeting, so one has to bow and other has to bow after few seconds. But it shows that it reflects the person's rank, standing, age and social position. Everything is going to be reflected in the split second of the bowing. Who is bowing to whom? In many cases, there are clear-cut differences in position and had no difficulties. The basic rules inside the family. Even inside the family also they follow this bowing. The wife bows to her husband. The wife is going to bow to her husband. It is universal. So always wife is going to give respect to the husband who is the head of the family. So in Japan also the wife is going to her husband. The child goes to his father and younger brothers to elder brothers and sister bows to all brothers of whatever age. See in the family how bowing take place. Wife is bowing to her husband and children are bowing to their father and younger brothers bows to the elder brothers and the sister is bowing to all the brothers of whatever age. So this is how bowing take place in Japan. So hope it is clear to you. In the next class I am going to continue the remaining part of the lesson where how the bowing take place in a different way. Okay, thank you.